Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session on student fees via the Central Parent Portal and app. My name is Rochelle and I'll be your host for today, and we have Loredana with us today as well.
Good morning, everyone.
So just some housekeeping for today. Our session is going to run for about 90 minutes. So we're starting at 10 o'clock and we're expecting to finish at about 11:30. You should also have access to the Zoom chat, and that is where our links and our resources will be posted for you, so you can easily access them. You should also have access to the Zoom Q&A, and that is where you'll be popping in your questions as we run through our session this morning. Now, just some assumptions for our webinar. So our session today is going to be looking at specifically our finance module as well as our parent portal. So hopefully, as you're attending today's session, you're fairly confident to create a fee in the finance module. You'll also understand the differences between our student fees and receipts, and student billing runs, because they're pretty important with our session today. So hopefully you do have a clear understanding about the differences between those three options, as well as when to use them. Now, if you do not, and you do just want a refresher, please refer to our YouTube playlist, and then we have a specific finance playlist there. Loredana will be popping in a URL soon, so you can access our finance playlist there, specifically on the finance module. We did also cover some activities-related finance questions on Tuesday's session, so we won't be covering in today's session how to create a standalone fee for an activity. Neither will we be covering how to link it to an activity or surfacing those students only for those permission given. So if you do want a refresher on that as well, we will be uploading our Tuesday session, and that will be available in the Help Centre coming up next week. So hopefully that's all clear for everyone. Now, for today's session, our objectives will hopefully you'll be able to make sure that your finance and your parent portal settings are all correct and what you need for the school. You'll also understand how to set up your financially responsible and your financially interested so they come into Central correctly. We'll also be looking at how to link our portal users to the parent portal and why this is important. We'll be then looking at how to manage our contacts, making sure that they're financially responsible and interested, and how to assign the split billings. So this is where we'll go through some use cases. We'll then have a look at what parents and carers will see in the parent portal. And then we'll be looking at how to manage those payment requests. So how to extend a payment date and how to send out any outstanding fees as emails to parents, just to give them a reminder. So hopefully after today's session, you'll walk away with being able to understand how to do all of this. Now, obviously going live with finance, your POP link on your website is no longer available. So all payments have to go through your Central Parent Portal and app. And that is for all payments that sit there for parents to make a payment for. Now, for parents who are not on the portal yet, they will still receive an email with a payment link that they can pay through that link. So no changes for the school side, right? All payments will come through, whether it's through the app or through the email, and that will all come through to the finance module. So obviously getting parents onto the portal is pretty important. So just to make sure that for a parent to be able to access the parent portal, they first, if they're on their phone, they download the Central Parent app. And then they also need to make sure that they have an account set up. So that's an email or a password, have their account created. And then finally, they have an access key. So regardless of whether it's a parent or a student key, that access key will actually give them access to their particular student or their child, and that will then give them information on their finance stuff as well. So Loredana, if you don't mind just launching a poll to see how our attendees are. So can you just please let us know whether you attended our Tuesday session on our activities and fees? Can you please also let us know if you have actually published fees for the parent portal and app, and whether you're using the parent portal and app, but you're not published any fees yet? And if you're not sure, there is an unsure button as well. Well, we're answering
a lot of people that have attended the Tuesday. That's great to see.
Let me know when you close the polls. But while everyone's kind of putting their votes in, I guess, Loredana's put in some links. So in the chat area of Zoom, there is a link to the YouTube video. There is a YouTube video playlist. There are also links to the activities resources and finance resources as well.
Okay, it's slowing down a little bit, but I'm still getting responses. Yeah, if you don't mind perhaps completing your response in the poll. Yeah, I'll just share it now. It looks like it's stop recording new answers. Sharing the results. Can you see them, Michelle?
Oh, wonderful. Yes. So we have a lot of us who have attended Tuesday's session, which is fantastic. We have a lot of us who have also published our fees to the parent portal. And we do have a few of us who are using the parent portal, but we haven't published any fees yet, which is great. So exciting. All right. Thanks, Loredana.
No worries.
So we're just going to cover a couple of things today just to make sure all of our settings are correct. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously make sure our finance settings and our parent portal settings are all set up correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to our demo site. The first thing I want to do is obviously just make sure our portal settings are all correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the waffle icon, down to the portal console module. And here's where I'm going to head over to the cogwheel on the right-hand side and head towards Portal Console Setup. Now I'm going to go straight into the settings section, where if I scroll down to the bottom, I do have some payments and invoices settings as well. So this is where you can rename some of the headings that come through. So if you don't like fee to be called fee, you can rename it to something else. And you also have the option of hiding some dates as well. Now, once this section here is all set up for your payment side, you can then also have a look at your access controls to make sure that parents are able to do and see what you want them to be able to do and see in the portal. So the first thing you want to do is obviously head over to the Parents tab, and we're going to go and scroll all the way down to the bottom to this payment section here. Now, obviously, if you want parents to be able to make payments through the portal, you need to make sure that this is switched on. But then here is obviously going to be a little bit different per school. So if you want parents to be able to view their statement of accounts, you need to make sure you have this first one ticked. If you want parents to be able to allocate their own credits, you need to make sure this is ticked as well. If you want parents to be able to request for refunds, you need to make sure this is ticked. Now, some schools just allow statements and credits. Some schools don't even allow credits or refunds. So you decide what options you would like ticked. Again, view statement, allow parents to view their statements of accounts. Allocate credits, allow parents to be able to allocate their own credits. And then request refunds, allow parents to be able to request refunds via the portal. So I hope that's all clear and set up. Now, if I scroll back up to the top, we then have a guest tab here. Now, this guest tab for our payment side pretty much allows parents to be able to pay through that email URL. So remember how I mentioned earlier, as soon as you publish a fee to the parent portal, a fee goes out into the portal, but then also an email gets sent out with the URL. Now, do you allow parents to be able to make parent payments through that URL? If it is a yes, you need to make sure that this is switched on to access payments. If this is switched to no, that URL will not work and parents will not be able to pay through that email URL. So please make sure that this is switched on to yes, access payments, so that email URL is also available for parents to be able to access. Now, the next thing that we want to do is head over to our finance module and make sure those finance settings are all set up. So I'm going to head over to finance, and I'm going to go again to the cogwheel and head into finance setup. Now, I'm going to go over into our online payment settings. Now, a lot of these settings here in our online payments and our fees, billings, and invoices settings have been set by default. So the first one I just wanted to show you is whether you allow partial payments. So when parents are in the portal and there's a camp coming up and there's a $100 deposit, do you allow parents to be able to choose how much they pay? So they might choose to pay $50, $20, but do you allow those partial payments? If you set it to yes, you need to make sure you have the minimum set for those partial payments. If you set to no, there obviously is no minimum amount to be set for those partial payments. So again, if you allow partial payments in the portal, please make sure you flick that to yes and put in the minimum amount to go through. Now you also have a setting down here, allow online payments after the payment request due date. So this is a default setting, kind of a blanket setting that you can set. Do you allow parents to make payments after the payment due date? If you set this to for payments linked to activities or payments not linked to activities, whichever one you pick will pretty much allow parents to make payments after the due date. Some schools don't have this ticked on because they don't want parents making payments for an activity that has already passed. So that is totally up to you. I'm then going to go into our fees, billings, and invoices area. Again, all of these have been set up by default. But one thing I just wanted to show you here is this option here, whether you want to automatically publish fees to the parent portal. So what this means is pretty much as soon as you create a standalone fee, for example, do you want that to automatically go to the parent portal? Some schools click yes because, as soon as they want to have a fee created, they want that straight away to go out. Some schools will leave that as a no because they want to sometimes create the fee and not publish it yet, or they might be selective with what fees they want published. So by default, it is set to no, but if you do want fees automatically published to the parent portal, you can flick that to the yes. Now, before I continue and move on to the next section, Loredana, do we have any questions?
There are no questions, so everything seems to be clear. I think somebody said that you dropped off for a bit, so I'm not really sure. Maybe Margaret, if you don't mind specifying what bit you missed, so we can cover that again.
Yeah, no problems. Is it okay if I continue? Maybe.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And I know some people raise their hands. If you have questions, perhaps put them in the Q&A. If not, then we'll just open the line at the end for you to ask questions via your audio channel.
All right, awesome.
That's okay.
Thank you.
We've got a lot of content to cover. Not via the chat, via the Q&A, please.
So what we're going to do now is have a look at, so we've just gone through the finance and parent portal settings. We'll now move on to the next bit, which is pretty much the crux of finance, right? So who is financially responsible and financially interested, and the linkage of portal users and why it's important. So let's have a look. So here we have on the screen, just pretty much I've put up a breakdown for you. So our financially responsible and financially interested pretty much determines who comes into Central. So all parents and carers who are open to receiving communication of fees need to be set in EARN as either financially responsible or financially interested. Now, how does it work? A financially responsible parent in EARN will come through into Central as financially responsible. They will be the default parent that is financially responsible for this child or this student. Now, the financially responsible parent will be notified of fees. So they'll receive the emails, they'll get that pop-up on their phone, and they can make payments through the portal. Now, on the other side, you then have financially interested. Financially interested in EARN will also come into Central as financially interested. The only difference is that financially interested will not be notified of fees, right? They won't get those emails, but they can still see and make payments via the parent portal and app. So that's the only difference between the two. Financially responsible in EARN will come through as financially responsible in Central. They will be notified of fees. Financially interested, however, will not be notified of fees, but they can make payments as well. So they both still have the same level of access to the payments, and they will both still be able to make those payments in the parent portal and app. Now, please note that all published fees will send an email with a payable URL by default. So again, as soon as you publish a fee to the parent portal, an email, depending on your settings in finance, right? An email will be sent out with a payable URL that anyone can pay for. So that email can be forwarded to others, to grandma, to auntie, to whoever. Whoever is not financially responsible or interested can still make a payment by clicking that URL in that email. So they don't need to be set up in EARN. The email with that URL can be forwarded to those others to make a payment as well. Now, this is really important, so I just want to make sure that we understand this. Loredana, are there any questions here?
There are a couple of questions around publishing fees automatically. Perhaps if you don't mind covering that again, and also in reference to standalone fees as well as billing.
The differences between them, or?
Yeah, well, the fact that it applies to both.
Oh, yes, so
The
financial.
student billing run, like do you have to, is it automatically publishing the fees or not? Perhaps just cover that part again, if you don't mind.
So the settings? Are we talking about the emailing? So I'm just trying to switch
Yeah, the automatic publish fee to portal, the setting that's associated to that.
Yeah, so this setting here in finance setup, fees, billings, and invoice settings, automatically send payment request emails to contacts after publishing a fee to the parent portal. If you do not want an email sent, you just obviously need to make sure you flick that to a no, right? But pretty much as soon as you publish a fee to the parent portal, if this is set to yes, an email will also go out. I will show you later on what the email looks like, but pretty much it's just going to address the person. There is a payment link there, and then it will pretty much just list the fee and the amount, so that payment email can be forwarded to others.
Thank you.
Is that okay there? Any other questions that I need to cover here?
And perhaps that allocate credit option as well. Somehow a couple of people were under the impression that that was not available. So perhaps if you don't mind showing that in the portal console again.
Yep, no problem. So I'm going to head over to Waffle Icon Portal Console, Cogwheel, Portal Console Setup, into our access controls, onto Parents, scroll down to Payments, and then you have an Allocate Credit button there. Okay. Anything else here?
That's okay. I'll collate more questions. Just
all right,
go ahead. Thank
wonderful.
you.
So I hope that's clear as to financial responsible and interested and how that works in finance. Now, the next bit I want to cover is then looking at the linkage of portal users and assigning of the billing percentages for the split families. So pretty much Central needs to associate a portal user, so someone in the portal, with obviously then someone in finance, right? Now, the reason why this is important is because we want to make sure that parents and even those, obviously those split families, can see what they should see. So the linking of the portal user and the contact in finance pretty much allows us to confirm that they are able to see the correct amount that they're being billed. So if a student has split billing set, so that 50-50 or that 70-30 split, if there is split billing set and those parents that are unlinked against the student, they will not be able to actually make payments against the student. So again, if a student has split billing, so 50-50, we need to make sure that they are linked as a parent in the portal, so that that parent can pay 50% and the other parent can pay 50%. If you have parents who are unlinked, they will not be able to allocate credits, request for refunds, or see or pay for students with split billing. So again, if you have a student who has 50-50 billing split, we need to make sure that both parents are linked from a parent portal and a finance side, so that that parent can pay 50% and the other parent can pay 50%. Once parents and split billings have changed, this will only impact fees moving forward. So it's not going to affect any historical fees or fees that have already been run. This is only going to change moving forward for the future fees that get created against the student. Now, how do we link our portal users? You have two options. You can either, I'm going to go back to the finance module. You can either go directly into a student, scroll down, find the contact or the parent, or even just bring up the parent directly, right? In the search bar, you can just look for the contact. You have a button here where you can link to a portal user. So you can click this button and then just search for the parent's name And that parent, if they're in the portal, will pop up here for you to link. Now, that obviously is a kind of case by case, a student per student, contact per contact setup, where I'm going into the parent, linking them one by one. Now, you do have the option of also bulk linking instead. So instead of kind of doing that one by one linking, you do have the ability of actually going into the setup of the finance module and doing a bulk link. So now that I am finance setup, if I scroll down to the bottom, we have a link contacts to portal users. So if I go into here, you will have some parent contact details with student names, contact names, and then their email addresses. If the parent in the portal has the exact same name, email, they will kind of automatically be linked here. You will see a blue box here with the linked parent, and that's the software linking it for you. However, if you have some parents who, might have a different email or they're not in the portal, they will pop up as blank for you to then just type a few letters to find them in the portal. So if I'm going to try and link Ethan to Julian, I'm going to try and look for Ethan's email, whatever it might be. Now, you may also have some possible portal users. Now, what this site is trying to do is trying to link anyone who has a student or family key in the portal, and it's going to try and pick them up here. So if Cassie is the correct person here, I can click Cassie and it's going to connect Cassie to this parent here in the parent portal. So again, linkage is pretty important when it comes to stuff like those split families and whether you want to be able to allocate the refunds or, allow them to allocate credits or request for refunds. So by default, financially interested and responsible will be able to see everything in the portal, but it's only when the split billing comes into consideration that we need to make sure that we link those parents. Loredana, are there any questions here?
Yes, there are some questions and clarifications. Can you hear me well, though? I think some people are saying that perhaps, I don't know, maybe my volume was a little bit too low. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you well, yes.
Okay. A couple of attendees are asking, in a non-split family, maybe you can clarify this, please, should both parents be linked?
They don't necessarily need to be linked unless you want to allocate credits and request for refunds. Some schools don't allow parents to allocate credits or request for refunds, and so they don't even really focus too much on linking. What they'll do is just come into here at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year. Whoever gets picked up automatically, they'll just come into here and confirm those that are automatically linked. Right.
Can they see the invoice though? I think you should clarify that.
Yes. So if I just go back to a previous slide, financially responsible will be able to see the payments, make the payments, and they will be notified of fees. Financially interested will be able to see the payments, make the payments, but they won't be notified. So again, the linkage is important when it comes to the split billing. If parent 1 needs 50% and parent 2 needs 50%, we need to make sure that split billing is set and we link them. So we've just covered linking. We'll look at setting the percentages soon.
Excellent, that's good. And just maybe one aspect as well, Kayla and Bernadette, they're asking that they're having some problems when parents change their relationship status. Is there any advice you can give?
It'll be hard to kind of speak about it here because I don't really know. We don't really know the situation. It's probably best, would you say, to lodge a case and then we can have a look at the, whether it's a student key or.
Yeah, and perhaps it's probably best to just wait until we can show you with the split families. And perhaps if you kind of preempt that and you kind of make that allocation, you'll hopefully, if you know the split families, it will hopefully help you not having to, fiddle with the contacts too much.
So it's split as in split billing. So you might have parents split, but they are happy to share the payment. So if mum and dad are split, but there's an agreement between them, right? That mum's paying for this and dad's paying for that, whatever it is, you don't need to put in the split billing. The split billing only comes in when we have a split. So there's a $100 camp thing, dad pays 50, mum pays 50%, and that's set. dad will only be invoiced for that 50%, right? And mum will only be invoiced for that remaining 50%. So they won't be able to see the whole amount. They will only see the amount that they need to pay for. So that's the only time that split billing really matters, is if you have parents that are quite firm to go, I'm only 50%, other parent is only 50%. We need to link them and make sure that their percentages are set. So it's split billing, not necessarily split families. I hope that's clear. Is it okay if I move on to the next?
Yeah, move on. Thank you.
All right. So we've gone through, we've linked the portal users, and we've looked at the bulk linking. What we'll do now is actually have a look at managing that split billing, right? So I've got a few scenarios on the screen here. So we'll go through scenario 1. So mum is financially responsible in earn, dad is financially interested in earn. Mum, in this case, is managing the fees, and dad doesn't really mind not being notified, right? Because remember, financially responsible, you will get emailed a fee. Dad doesn't really mind not getting emailed. Dad is happy to log into the portal and see the fee there. So what do? No action is required. So if I just show you a student here, scenario 1, no action required, right? So for Alex here, we've got Zoe, who's come through as financially responsible because she's financially responsible in earn. You can see that she's automatically ticked as responsible for billing. So this is by default. Financially responsible is automatically ticked, and it's only her name. You can see Lucas here as well. Lucas appears because he's financially interested in earn. As much as Lucas isn't ticked, Lucas will still be able to see the fee in the portal and make the payment as well, right? The only difference is because Lucas is not ticked, he will not be emailed or notified. So again, mum is financially responsible, dad is interested, mum is managing the fees, so she wants to be notified of everything. Dad doesn't mind, he's happy to just log in and see it. This is no action is required. You can just leave mum as just ticked. Now, in the second scenario, where let's just say mum is financially responsible and earn, dad is financially interested, and dad would like to be notified because let's just say they split, but dad still wants to be notified. What you can then do is make sure that you then tick both of these parents as being responsible, right? Remember, it's just the notification that matters. If Lucas does not mind not being emailed, you can just leave it like this, and that is just the default settings for everyone. Lucas can still log in, but let's just say they've separated and Lucas kind of wants to be on top of it. You can tick both of these parents and you can see that they become one kind of household, right? If they're living in the same address. Now, remember, any changes that you make to these will only affect future fees made forward because you're changing the whole structure of the household in terms of finance. So I would say if at your school, a lot of the parents are happy just to have the one parent kind of in charge of it all, just leave it as it is, the default. Just have the contact one or whoever's financially responsible as set, and whoever is financially interested, just have them log on, right? Just leave it as the default. Now, if we then have a look at scenario 3 with the split billing, where we have mum as financially responsible, dad is interested, but mum and dad need to have the 50-50 agreement, right? There is a 50-50 split. I'm only paying 50% and the other parent is only paying 50%. What we then need to do is make sure we tick both of these parents, and you need to assign the 50% or the 70-30, whatever it is, that percentage here, and you can see that then becomes split. So Zoe will only see 50% of that fee, and Lucas will only see 50% of that fee, and they are split. Do we have any questions here?
Yes, there are some questions. I just kind of lost where you stopped, but let me tell you a couple of questions. Peggy is wondering if you can apply the split to different type of fees. Perhaps you can clarify that.
You can do that for only activities only, but by default, it's just kind of, we just set a rule, and that's just the rule for all the fees that go through.
And also, Alison is asking, in guest mode, are parents paying via link? How does that work with permission?
So activities, we'll just need to check up on that. But with the standalone fees, it's just a payment for that fee.
Yeah, I can address that. So with parents, obviously, when they click on a link, that's a guest portal. So that guest portal only allows you to pay, right? Not to provide permission. But parents, you should advise parents to log in if they have a portal account, to log in via their portal, because that's how they need to give permission first and then pay the fee. And just the last bit, perhaps you're not there yet, but perhaps you can just show how you can push fees to the portal and ask for payment requests. I know that's coming up further down. So Megan, if you don't mind just waiting for a little bit, you'll get the answer to your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Loredana. All right, so let's actually get to this screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to finance module. Now, remember, to do anything with contact setup, right, we have to go into the student. So I'm going to go into Alex here. I've gone into Alex as a student. I can see he's, however much he's paid, whatnot. If I scroll down to the bottom, here we have contact responsible for Alex. Now, here's where we have Zoe here, where she's the only one responsible, which is fine because Zoe wants to be notified. And if we click into set up contacts, this is where we have that matrix kind of thing here. So again, by default, Zoe will be able to make payments and be notified, so receive the email. Lucas won't get the email, but he will still be able to see the payments and then make the payments as well, right? So you can see Zoe is ticked, but Lucas, because he's coming as financially interested, he will still be able to see and make payments in the portal. No issues there. If moving forward, they've separated whatever it is, and Zoe and Lucas both want to be on top of it, you can tick both of them and you'll see it will merge both of them into one contact. If Zoe and Lucas have had an agreement, I'm paying 70, you're paying 30, this is where you then put in the percentages. So this is where you choose your percentages, right? And this is where it will then split them. And Zoe will only see invoices moving forward for 70%, and Lucas will only see invoices for fees for 30% moving forward. Again, any changes here that you make to the default will affect only fees moving forward, okay? If you do make any changes, it will get recorded here that there have been contacts that have changed. So you can see this is currently active. If I do change this and add the 50 split or whatever it is, it will add another line and it will detail that split. Now, again, a lot of schools just leave the default and have the financially responsible as financially responsible and financially interested as just interested, right? And that's where they'll just have do nothing, leave it as it is, no action required.
Sorry, if you don't mind, Michelle, just can you show again how you get to this page?
Yeah.
A couple of people missed that step, so perhaps just reiterating the steps, if you don't mind. Thank you.
I'll head over to, again, I'm just going to go into finance, right? You can just type in the name of a student that you want to get into. I'm just going to Alex Fowle. I'll go down to the bottom. We can hit set up contacts. And this is where we have whoever's financially responsible as just ticked, financially interested is available, unticked, perfectly fine, because in this case, Blake is still happy to log into the portal and make those payments that way. So again, a lot of schools just leave it as it is because parents will still have access to the portal by just logging in. So no kind of major differences between whether we should tick it. It's only going to affect future fees. Any questions here?
There is a question around contact details for split families that have access to 100% of the fee.
Sorry, I'm not following. You might have to. You might have
in
to.
terms of
I don't know the context.
In terms of the contact details on the invoice, if the parents are split, but they want to see 100% of the invoice. Kayla and Bernadette were wondering if the address of the other party is visible.
So if it's 50-50% split, like let's just say it's split, they will only see an invoice with their own details. If it's shared, like as in they're just both 100%, then I think they will see their details.
We'll probably need to double check this. As far as I know, I think to avoid these situations, we probably removed the address details. But Kayla and Bernadette, if you just put your details, i.e. what school you're from, so associate your name with the school, we'll double check and get back to you if that's okay.
All right, awesome. We'll just keep going. So again, parents who have split billing will receive an invoice that is a reflection of their own percentages. And you then have a history recorded for anything made to the structure, and nothing will change for any historical fees. All right, so this is probably where we just kind of want to see what parents and carers can actually receive and see in the parent portal. So the first thing I just want to show you is what that email looks like. So parents will receive an email addressed to themselves, or, you know, if whoever's financially responsible, with details as to what that fee is for. So, all right, we've got some tuition fees. Obviously, this is just an example. You've got the amount, and then you've got that pay now link. So parents can then click into this link if they're not in the portal, or if they want to forward this email to someone else. They can click on this pay now link and it will take them to a payment screen, which is that guest side, where they can then make that payment there. Now you do have the ability to actually edit this template, and you can do that by going into Setup Finance. We have some notification templates here. See how we've got this payment request? You can actually edit this template and then make some changes to the text or whatever it is, or even that pay now link. Now, I do recommend you actually putting in the school email here, as it's going to come up to parents if you don't change it as this email. So just make sure, just update the from email in this section here. So it's going to come from the school's email. So again, I got into here by in finance module, cogwheel, finance setup, and then we have some notification templates, right? You've got your templates here, and this is the email that you might want to change. You would hit edit, and then just replace this from email with your school email. Okay. So this is the email that parents receive. Now, what does the portal look like? The portal will look like something like this. So if I just go into the parent portal for you, I've just logged in as a parent, right? And this is the parent portal for myself. These are the fees that will pop up in the portal for everyone who has access to this student in the portal, where they will be able to see the fee, who it's for, the amount, and when it's due by. They can click view invoices to have a look at the invoice, where they can make a payment for the invoice, or they do also have the ability of going straight into payments and making multiple payments for multiple items. So if there's a book bag or a stationery bag or a standalone fee, they can tick multiple items and make payments for that. If you have partial payments turned on, you do also have the option for parents to make changes to however much they want to pay, and then it will just then come through to your side as partially paid. So obviously they'll just tick it down to the bottom where they'll just hit confirm, and then it'll take them to the payment screen where they can then put in their details. Other questions here, Loredana, about what parents see, the email, anything with the portal?
Helen Barker is asking, how can the receipt be issued with the parent financially interested rather than the parent financially responsible? Helen, perhaps if you, I don't know if you can maybe clarify if this is a split or not a split family. Can you perhaps clarify that if you don't mind? It's a split family. So in the split family situation, do you want to answer that, Michelle?
It's what, sorry, I'm just trying to,
Okay, so with the split, I can answer that. So with the split family, the moment you put them as 50-50, the particular details are going to be for that financially interested person. So it's not going to have the contact details, i.e. address of the financially responsible, but they are going to see their own details and they're going to have only an invoice for that 50%. Hopefully that makes sense. So they're not going to see the other party's address details. Is that correct, Michelle? Is that your understanding as well?
yeah.
Yeah. So make sure that they are actually having a split billing if that's a split family. And then they will get a receipt for their particular portion of the invoice. So for that 50%. I hope that makes sense, Helen Barker. If it doesn't make sense, perhaps we can discuss in that question and answers session a little bit later at the end of the session. But I hope this clarifies. S. McCormack is asking, how do we get the student's name to appear on a receipt? Are we doing something wrong? Only shows the parent and not which child the parent has paid for. I would assume in this case, they probably have multiple kids. Do you have anything else to add on this one, Michelle?
I'm trying to, I don't really know the context of these because I can't see the questions.
Oh, this is the question, and that's how I kind of read. So how do we get the student's name to appear on a receipt? Are we doing something wrong? Only shows the parent and not which child the parent has paid for.
It's probably best to lodge it as a case because
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that too. I assume that perhaps you have a parent that has multiple kids. So that's probably important for the parent to know which kids they have already paid for. So if you don't mind, S. McCormack 8, just lodge a case. And then if we don't have that piece of information already, then we can obviously improve and add those additional details.
So normally receipts will be sent out automatically, but you do have the option of actually emailing a receipt again. So I don't know if that helps with anything. But if you have parents who are not receiving a receipt, then it's probably best to lodge that as a case, and then we can have a look at that.
Yeah. In a similar manner for Susan Gardiner, she's saying we have a grandparent who often pays for fees, but when paying, we're unable to have the receipt in her name as only the financially responsible parent comes up.
Yeah.
Do we need to add her as a contact each time she makes a payment?
Does a grandma come in as interested at all?
I don't think they're mentioning that. So adding as a contact, not each time she makes a payment, you actually can add her as a financially interested contact.
So
And if she pays regularly, so perhaps you can just
so you can
show that.
actually just create a contact. So if I go into registers, you can go into contact register because there are more fields here, and just add a contact for grandma, so contact name. And then you can also put in grandma's email. So any receipts will also be emailed to grandma as well. I don't know if the recommendation is to add grandma as an financially interested, so she comes in as automatically. But you do have the ability to actually add contacts and the kind of receipt payments against that contact. It just won't be against the student then. Anything else, Loredana? If you would like
questions, I was just trying to group them around this particular topic.
Yep.
I guess you covered the fact that when the payments are made, how can we make sure the receipts are emailed out? So the receipts are automatically emailed and Barnett. And of course, I think you just showed how you can reprint the receipts, perhaps if you don't mind showing that.
You just go into your fee register, you'll just find any fees that have been paid. Obviously you could go into the student as well. You can do tick actions, and then you can where's sending a receipt. You can print a fee
Payments register, Michelle.
register
Yeah, in the payments register under the receipt one.
filter.
And in the meantime, if you don't mind, so Peggy say, can we make partial payments available to say just school fees and no others like activities? Unfortunately, with partial payments is a module setting, so you can only, so it's applicable to all your fees, not just some and not others.
So I've just gone into payments register, or you can go into the payments of that student. You can print and you can email a receipt here. So if they're saying I haven't received the email, you can hit email and it will tell you who it's going to go to. So if you're creating a contact though, again, it's not going to link to the student because it's just an ad hoc contact. If you want that parent or that grandma to be attached to the student, they need to be attached as a financially interested or responsible contact. Would you agree with that, Loredana?
Sorry, I just wasn't paying attention. I was trying to filter the answers. What were you asking me something?
Oh, just having grandma linked to a student. They will need to be linked as interested or responsible. Otherwise, they're just an ad hoc contact that you're receiving payments against.
Yes, correct. So if grandma really pays and she necessarily wants her name there, then you have to make her financially interested, or financially responsible. I mean, maybe just double check with the that particular scenario and with that family. You will have to do that in Earn. There were a couple of questions here that refer to where can I change in Central. So you can't change contact details, email addresses in Central. You will have to do that in Earn because Earn is your source of truth.
Yeah. Now if I just go back to a slide. So remember, everything needs to be set in Earn, and then it comes through into Central following whatever has been set. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Loredana?
Statements. It said D Mandato is asking, can you make statements that parents see only have the payments due for the current year? So parents are actually seeing a drop down of fees for year so that they can go and choose the current year versus the previous years. I guess, you know, so Michelle's going to show you, so anything that's there. Now, if you don't want them to see fees that are outstanding for previous years, you just need to cancel those fees. So, but you specifically mentioned statements. So I assume that you only refer to statements and not to other fees that are outstanding for previous years.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you can
and you'll also see on this screen here, this swimming excursion, just as a kind of refresher, parents can't make a payment for this because it's pending approval. So parents need to give permission first before they can actually make a payment for this. So this is just pending permission approval. Once permission has been given for Samuel to go to this excursion, then Samuel will have a fee that is then payable and okay for the parent to make a payment for.
And maybe if you don't mind just showing again, how would you link, i.e. a grandma or somebody else to a student, just as a refresher for a couple of people that perhaps didn't get that?
So grandma needs to be set in Earn as either financially responsible or interested to be able to come into central finance. So again, if you have parents or contacts missing against the kid in finance, it's probably because they're not set to either responsible or interested in Earn. So all parents and carers who are open to receiving communication on fees need to be set in Earn as either financially responsible or interested. Whichever they are set in Earn will then come into Central reflecting that. So financially responsible in Earn will come into financially responsible in Central, and interested will come into Central as interested. Only difference between the two is that financial responsible will be notified. However, they will both, whatever they are, they will both be able to see and make payments through the app and the portal. To be able to make sure that's correct, you'll go into the finance module, you'll go into the student. You can scroll all the way down against the student and then hit set up contacts. And then you can see who's responsible. So you can see here Zoe is responsible because she's coming default as being ticked as responsible. Lucas is interested, which is why he's coming as interested. Even though he's not ticked, he will still be able to see and make payments through the portal. The only difference is that he won't be notified via email, and that is it, right? That's the only difference between the two. So a lot of schools will have this as the default, we're just happy to leave it. But for those case-by-case scenarios where we might need to be able to split them up, this is where they will then go into the student, set up contacts, they'll tick who's responsible, and they might even have a look at splitting the percentages for those parents. So again, if grandma's missing from this list, she's missing in earn as either financially responsible or financially interested. So I hope that makes sense.
Do you mind perhaps just showing Natasha's asking for the parents that are not on the portal? How do you print a statement of account?
You want to print it from the school's perspective?
Yeah, from a school perspective. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So until Michelle is traveling to that point, under a contact where you can print the statement of account, we definitely recommend that you enable that in the portal console so the parents that are on the portal can retrieve that themselves. But if the parent is not on the portal, then Michelle is going to show you where you can do that.
Yep. So you can just go into finance. You can just go straight and just look for a certain parent. So if a parent's come into the front office going, hey, I just want to get my statement of account for this year or for everything, you can use this search bar and just bring anyone up, type in their name and just surface them. Once you're in their actual profile, see on the right-hand side, you've got statement of account. You can choose what you want to generate a statement of account for. So it might be for all years, it might be just for 2024. You'll hit generate, and that's just going to run a report for you to be able to print that and give that to parents. I don't know what this parent might have. Yeah, this parent's got nothing. It's demo site, but it's just going to list all their fees. Who may have any items? Let's see if this one. So there you go. So it's just going to look something like this. So obviously you'll have all your school details up the top with your logo. All right. Statement for whoever it's addressed to, and then you'll have a list of all of the fees that have been generated for the child. Okay. I hope that answers your question. So again, you'll just go into the contacts of the parent, and on the right-hand side, statement of account, and you can choose what you want to generate the account statement for. Anything else, Loredana?
Danny Piccone, she's asking, can you amend the financially interested and the financially responsible details after the enrollment? Does this involve actually editing the enrollment in Earn? So we don't know exactly what your compliance is. So that's probably a question that other people that are online could answer because it's an Earn and a department compliance. But you can amend the financially interested and financially responsible details anytime. But maybe somebody else can chime in and add to it from a department compliance perspective as to what other requirements you have when you do those changes. So we can't answer that. So I'm not sure, but maybe a couple of other SAMs or SEOs would be happy to chime in.
Yeah, so Earn will come into Central. If you make any changes in Central, it will not go back to Earn. It's just within Central and you generating the fees moving forward. Again, Earn setup will come into Central. If you make any changes in Central, it will stay in Central only. It will not go back and update Earn.
It's interesting. Bronwyn says something here which I don't know exactly if I understand correctly. Bronwyn Holt is saying, Earn will not let an emergency contact be set as a financially responsible or financially interested. Not sure if I understand that correctly, Bronwyn. Perhaps, again, other SAMs or sales can confirm that's the case. My current understanding says that you can actually put emergency contacts as financially interested. But again, it's an earn requirement, which I'm not sure about. And there are a couple of people that perhaps there is that slight confusion as to how financially interested works with permissions. So I don't know if you want to clarify that, or you're happy for me to do so, just to kind of separate the two.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to clarify.
Yep. So with permissions, try and keep finance interested and financially responsible out of the equation. The permissions and what people can see, by default, any parent, providing they have a student key, they can give permission. Now, the exception is that perhaps if you have split families or you want to handle no permission, that's when you need to do some restrictions in the portal. But it has nothing to do with financially responsible and financially interested. So kind of see them as two separate things. Now, if there is an overlap, of course, but permission by default works for both parents. If they have a family key or a student key without a restriction, both parents can provide permission. So hopefully that's clarified. Okay, just move on, Michelle, and I'll try and catch up. There's still a couple of other questions, but yeah, I'll let you move on.
Yeah, no problems. So we've just looked at what parents and carers receive and see in the portal. So again, email that goes out, this is what it looks like. And then this is what that payment request looks like via the portal. So what we'll do now is have a look at managing some payment requests and those payments. So the first one is, how do I send out payment reminder emails for any of those outstanding fees to parents? So let's just say it's, end of semester 1 or whatever it is. I just want to send out a payment reminder to the parents about everything that's kind of sitting there as outstanding. So how do I do that? So I'm going to go into our finance module. To be able to send payment reminders against those parents, right, we need to go into the registers against our contacts register. Now, you do have the option of obviously running some filters. So you might want to run a filter and only grab, for example, any of the parents that are households as opposed to ad hoc contacts. But let's just hit search just to bring everyone up. You do have the ability here to either be selective as to who you want to give that email to, or you can just kind of select everyone, right? Provided that your pagination captures everyone. You can select everyone on this screen. And here we have an actions, and you can decide what you want to do. So here's where you can email your statement of account to selected or everyone that is found, everyone found as in 258. So this is where you can choose to email your statement of accounts, or you can then choose to email your outstanding fees. So any fees sitting there as either unpaid, partially paid, any of those outstanding fees to selected contacts, so those you have ticked, or to all contacts found, so against all 258. Whichever one you pick, depending on your scenario, you can tick it, and then you can decide what you want to send. So are you sure you want to email the outstanding fees to the specific just to the specified contacts, whether you want to attach the statement of account as well, and whether you want to include invoices that are not published to the parent portal. So for example, any of the standalone fees that you've created but not published, do you also want that popping up on your email? Whichever one you choose, you can then hit preview and it's going to show you what that looks like. Right? It's just a preview of some examples. And if that looks good, you would obviously then hit OK, and then you would then email outstanding fees. Now, again, this email template can be adjusted. So again, if you want to adjust that template that gets sent out, you would go into your settings, finance settings, into your notification templates, We looked at this before, which is our payment request, but looking at sending any of those outstanding fees, it would be this template. So again, outstanding invoices reminder, you can hit edit. Obviously, make sure you have your school email in here. And then you can change some text above the email body or below the email body, and you can even rename that Pay Now link as well. So again, if you want to send out payment reminders for any outstanding fees to parents into your registers, your contact register, you could look for them here or just surface everyone. Right, you can tick who you want to send it out to, actions, and then choose what you want, whether you want to email the statement of account or just email any of those outstanding fees. And that's how you would do that first scenario. Any questions here, Loredana?
No, just no, just move on.
Okay. And thank you. So this is the first one. How do you send payment reminder emails for any outstanding fees to parents? So that, again, that will go through as an email. Now the next one, how do I edit the payment due date for a fee so parents have more time to pay? So again, editing the payment due date for a fee so parents have more time to pay. So again, you have the first option, and I showed you before. In your settings, you can change the default. So all fees you can kind of pay after the date. So again, if you want to do that and allow parents for everything, you would go into your cogwheel, into finance setup, into your fee online payment settings. Yeah, allow online payments after the payment request due date. This is where you can choose that kind of default blanket. I want parents to be able to make payments after the due date for anything not linked to activities. Now, let's just say it's a case by case, you know, someone's called in and they would like to have more time. How do we do that? You would go into your finance module. It will be sitting under central pay, right? Because parents are paying through the portal. So everything portal related will sit under central pay. So it is a payment request because this is a request sent by the school to the parent, and we want to extend that payment request. So we'll be sitting under central pay, payment requests, where you would then find that fee. So let's just say, you know, Angus's parents have called the school and they want to kind of extend that date. This is the fee that we want to kind of extend the date for. You might do it for multiple, whatever it is, but this is the fee that we want to extend the date for. So this is at the moment due on the 29th of October. Let's just say mum's called and wants to extend it to mid-November. I'm going to go into central pay, payment request, look for the fee that I want to extend, tick that fee. With the selected, I want to edit the due date. So up the top here with the blue button, with selected, edit due date, and this is where I can then change it from the 29th of October to mid-November and update due date. Do I want to confirm? And that will then update and hit confirm. Now that due date will then update for the parent in the portal for the 15th of November. So that is how you would edit the payment due date so parents have more time to pay. So again, how did I get there? In the finance module, sits under central pay because it is portal related, right? Parents have more time to pay through the portal. It's a payment request because you're requesting parents to pay. Find whatever fee it is, tick the fee, with selected, edit due date, and then you change the due date to it whenever you would like this fee to be due as the payment. All right, and you can see that it's now been updated. Now, the last management of those payment requests is pretty much how do you clear those fees at the end of the year? Now, I've just added this in because it did come up as a question during our Tuesday session. This is pretty
onto that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you mind just still under this, under number 2?
Yeah.
There is somebody, I don't know the name, it's an anonymous attendee. The question is, if you turn off the button for parents to see the due date of an invoice, how does that impact the other fees? Does this work for invoice published through activities or just standalone fees? So I don't know if you covered that or not, the
I'm not
due date.
Is this a button in the portal console?
Yes, I'm assuming, no, I'm assuming the due date that you change in the settings.
Against the fee?
Yes, that due date.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of guessing what the person is asking. Does this work for invoice published through activities only or standalone fees as well?
Being
If
able to edit the due date?
yes, the due date.
Yeah, so that you can do that for all fees. Like this is a Swimming Carnival fee through the activities module.
Okay, so the due date is applicable to all fees.
No, just for this particular student. Like I've just changed it for this particular student. If you want to do it for all of them, you'll just have to tick multiple fees or whichever fees. So you might want to surface them for a particular activity. So let's just say you want to extend it for all of Powerhouse Museum, for example. You'll bring up all of Powerhouse Museum. Oh, there's nothing there.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're showing, but I'm not sure I understand the
Okay.
question. So perhaps if you don't mind, it's anonymous attendee, so I can't see your name. Maybe you can pose the question, you can unmute yourself and you can give us a little bit more context because I'm not really sure what you're asking around the due date. So usually the due date is for a permission where they have to give permission and pay by a particular date. And then obviously the parent might still come on the day to send the kid to an excursion. So this is something that we covered on Tuesday. So if that's the case, how you can make sure that you give a little bit more leeway to parents to pay and of course provide permission to. It's got nothing to do with the standalone fees. So a standalone fee is due to be paid until you cancel it. So if it's from last year and you still expect that to be paid, the parents can still pay. Hopefully that clarifies. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. All good to have a look at voiding and adjusting the fee amount?
Yes.
Okay. Again, this has been included because it was brought up on Tuesday. So pretty much, let's just say it's the end of the year and we've got fees that are sitting there, for example, for activities because students haven't gone to the activities. How do we clear those fees out so they don't kind of sit there against the student as waiting to be paid? So how you would do that is obviously in the finance module, you would go into your registers to surface those fees, right? And because we're looking at fees that are kind of sitting there as waiting to be paid, so the authorized fees, we're going to go into the fee register. So again, registers, fee register. Now, this is where we just need to apply some filters, right? We don't want to be surfacing and canceling or voiding any of those fees that are paid, right? We want to be bringing up any of those authorized fees. So any of those outstanding fees that are not paid, how do we kind of wipe them out? So we're going to surface any authorized fees. You do have the ability of like adding in fees for a certain activity, stuff like that. But let's just say I just want to kind of clear out any fees made for 2024 so we can start 2025 clear. So surface any of those authorized, outstanding, unpaid fees. I'm going to apply that filter and hit the filter button. So obviously we have a lot of fees given that this is our demo site, but these are all of the fees that are sitting here currently unpaid in its entirety. This will also include any partially paid fees because partially paid fees will still have the status as authorized. Now let's just say I've checked all of these and I'm happy to void them all. Obviously make sure you've captured all the fees on the screen here by increasing that pagination down at the bottom. But you will select them all, untick any of those that you don't want to kind of cancel, right? But this is the important bit here is under actions, you have these two options here. Now, again, canceling fees pretty much just voids everything. Now that will wipe the fee completely. It will still be a record in finance, right? But it will wipe the fee completely and pretty much void that fee. Now, just so you're aware, if you do cancel a fee that is either fully paid or partially paid, that will end up actually creating a credit against that student, right? Because that fee is cancelled. The fee is cancelled, that payment has nowhere to go. If it's in your case and something is partially paid and we need to cancel this fee, right? But we don't want to necessarily give this student a credit because it doesn't apply in this scenario. Cancel fees will not work, right? Because we don't want to give them a credit. What you can then do instead is adjust the fee amount. So what that means is that pretty much we'll just bring it down to whatever the student has paid. Now, adjusting the fee amount is the safest option because it allows you to kind of do it at bulk and allows the system to kind of automatically match it. So let's just pretend this first fee, $20 fee, nothing has been paid, but there's $20 due. Let's just say this second fee is a $20 fee. The student has paid $5 and there's now $15 remaining. If I go ahead and cancel that fee, that will turn that $5 that student has paid into a credit. We might not want to do that. Instead, the advantage with adjusting a fee is that it will match this first fee with $0 paid down to a $0 fee. What that will then do if you do adjust the fee is with this second scenario where the student has paid $5 for this $20 fee, is that will reduce that $20 fee and rewrite it to be now a $5 fee. So it pretty much matches it to whatever the student paid. So that will be unique to each student. If the third student has paid $13.50, it will match that $20 fee down to $13.50. So it pretty much just balances it out. So nothing is now left as outstanding or unpaid. So what you can do is obviously surface those fees, choose which fees you want to do this for, and then go into adjust fee amount. Now, this is where you can put in a reason. So some schools kind of do, clearing fees for 2024, whatever it might be. You choose whatever fees you want to do this for. And here is where you can decide what you want to do and how you want to reduce it. So if you want to set it to a fixed amount, so everything is now $10, you set it to a fixed amount. Reduce it by a fixed amount means everything gets reduced, for example, by $10. Reduce it by a percentage, you're reducing it by a percentage. But this is the one where you pretty much match everything unique to each student. So match existing payment amount will pretty much match all the fees to however much has been paid or if there hasn't been anything paid. You can then preview the changes and it will tell you what will happen. So it will tell you how much it is and what it will go down to. So if there are any partially made payments, let's just say the $5, it will rewrite this fee down to that $5 amount. So this preview screen here will just pretty much let you know what will happen. So what's the fee? What is it called? Who is it for? What's the amount? And what will happen? What it will change to pretty much will be this column here. Once everything here is, correct and good to go, you will then hit confirm update and it will update all these fees and pretty much adjust it to however has been paid. So it will match it to that payment amount. Now, are there any questions here with how to kind of clear fees at the end of the year or at the end of the semester?
Yes, there's a good question here that Heather Mayan, she's asking, what if you only want to cancel a particular year?
Yep.
i.e. year 12 only?
Yep. So that just really relies on the filters that you put. So if there's a fee run, so for example, it might be year 12 Jersey or year 12 picnic day, you would just then obviously surface whatever it's called. I don't know if we have anything. Let's just choose this, for example. You'll just run that fee run because obviously only year 12s will have this fee against them. You'll make sure you have the authorized button clicked as well because we only want to be dealing with those unpaid stuff. And then we can then hit filter. And if there's anything here, there's one, ticket, actions, and then adjust the fee amount.
So I guess, Heather, to kind of enable you to be able to do that, when you generate, of course, for jerseys, probably you already call them year 12, but if you have any sort of subject fees, I guess it would be useful to add the year in the fee run so you can do that filtering. So you can't filter on the student's current year, right? The fees, but hopefully what Michelle showed you, would give you a little bit of food for thought as to what sort of fee runs you create in the future.
So the advantage with doing a adjust the fee amount is that anything that is partially paid, it will match it to that payment, right? It won't create a credit, it will match it to whatever's been paid. But any fees that have $0 paid, it'll actually match it to $0 and kind of void that fee as well. So it's the safest way without kind of creating any credits, which is what cancel fees will do, is it will create a credit, right? So again, adjusting a fee amount will adjust it to the amount that is paid. And if it's something like this, where it's $0 paid, and I go ahead and adjust the fee amount, it will write it down to $0. And in effect, it will actually void that fee as well. So it does both, adjusting fee amount, matches it and voids any fees that are unpaid completely.
Would it be possible to, do you know much about filtering here on the exit date on the fee register?
Yep, so the student exit date here you can use as well. So if you're expecting the year 12s to kind of be leaving December, I don't know, oh no, sorry. Let's just go like August, I think, 24th or 23rd. You can run a filter and see if that then captures all your year 12 kids.
Because that would be another way, Heather, would be another way for you to perhaps filter just for those year 12s.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else? Because that's pretty much all the content that I've put aside for today. So I can wrap up and then we can spend 15 or 10 minutes or so going through questions.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I'll stop the recording then, if you don't mind, and whoever's happy to put their hand up and ask those questions live.
Yeah.
Let me just stop the recording first.
Perfect. So what we've gone through today is we've gone through the finance and parent portal settings, obviously just making sure that, you know, parents are able to allocate credits if we want them to and request for refunds, you know, that the settings to automatically publish fees to the portal, that kind of stuff. Make sure the finance and parent portal settings are all correct. We then looked at financially responsible and interested, and obviously how that then comes through from Earn. We've then looked at linking of portal users and why this is important, right? Because remember, linkage really important for those parents that are split, especially when it comes to the split percentages. We then looked at managing contact access to fees, so how to actually assign the percentages and ticking those who are responsible. We then looked at how parents and what parents and carers receive and see in the parent portal. So we looked at that email that they get sent through and what that looks like in the portal, you know, being able to tick and make those payments and even the partial payments. And then we looked at managing payment requests and payments. So pretty much, typo there, but pretty much being able to wipe the fees clear at the end of the year. We then looked at how to email those outstanding fees as well. And I think we also looked at how to edit that payment due date. So editing that payment due date so parents have more time in the portal to make that payment. Some additional resources. So you do have the Help Center. There are FAQs, QIGs, and user guides in the Help Center. You can lodge a case via the Help Center, and that there are some YouTube links as well. Loredana will be putting in the links in the chat again, so you can have access to it. I'll also put up a document, if Loredana can maybe just share it with you all. We do have this page here. So if you just search up central.com.au/central finance resources, on this screen here, again, you do have some user guides and some links to the YouTube videos directly. But here is where you also have this parent guide for payments and permissions. So this is a guide that was made. If you click into this.
Yeah, that's great because, yeah, I had a couple of parents asking, and perhaps everybody should know about this. So if you feel...
Yeah, so I made this template to kind of, this document so schools can kind of give this to parents, but the first half is pretty much going through giving permission and payment. So, you know, giving permission for an activity, how parents kind of navigate through, you know, what they can do. And then going down is how to actually then make that payment. So again, giving permission, and then it kind of takes you to that payment screen where they can then submit their payment there. So again, I'll pop it in the chat if Loredana can maybe just share it with you guys because I can't post to everyone.
It's already there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So again, that all sits under this parent guide for payments and permission. And that's just a PDF that you can kind of give to your parents so they can get into the portal and give permission, and then